there is no one way. There is only one destination, and we're already there. So there's no path that is a path, that we're already as awareness. But there's many different ways to discuss it. Some of them are very ineffective, and I can recognize those instantly, and I don't bother. They're misleading. But some are very effective, and there's another lineage and another great teacher, and I'm happy to mention teachers in my own satsangs because we're all friends, all humans are friends. So Muji has a nice quote that I just pulled up today before I come downstairs, and he's a teacher from the lineage of Advaita Vedanta, which is more about the inquiry of who's looking, who am I, where is the self. Well, the kind of things that we've been talking here mostly and generally is about our expression as innate born awareness. We're not so much talking about the actual self, we're talking about that everything is the self. There's some slight differences, but it doesn't matter, because when I read the words of Muji or a quote, he's saying the same thing. It's identical, it just looks different, but certain quotes are identical, and I'm just going to read one here. But basically what he said was, do not manipulate anything. Leaving everything as it is freedom. So do not manipulate anything. Leaving everything as it is freedom. So that's a very powerful quote, because most people wouldn't think that, so just to clarify, what I'll do is I'll put the actual quote on the video when I've got time to find it, but that's the essence of it. Most people would not think that leaving things as they are is freedom, but it's the ultimate freedom. It's the ultimate freedom as the natural born awareness of which everything is comprised. Like the lion is completely free with the appearances of the gazelle. It doesn't have to try and manipulate anything. And the reverse, the gazelle is not free in the appearance of the lions. And that's what we're talking about here. So with his approach, which is, again, no approach, but to recognize that yourself doesn't need to change anything to recognize freedom, is the same as saying everything is awareness and has no effect over awareness. Yourself is comprised of awareness. Yourself is comprised of awareness. Yourself is comprised of awareness, and so is all appearances, and they're indivisible. Try now to separate this Buddha statue from your own awareness. So there's a sense of I am, and then try to make that I'm not that. Like it's impossible to do. Right? If you don't ever consciously examine it, no one would ever think I'm also that Buddha statue. You wouldn't walk into a room and be like, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. You just wouldn't do that. You walk in there with a sense of, I'm not any of this. I'm just me walking into a room full of objects and people. But you could also walk into a room without thinking and have this instinctive recognition that you are all appearances. And imagine what it's like to walk into a room thinking that none of it is you. That is like a gazelle walking into a pen full of lions. It's like, what's going to happen to me? Right? Where if you walk into a room and you recognize all appearances are you, that's like a lion walking into a room full of gazelles. Yo, right? It has a stable confidence. And in my own life, I've been in a position where I felt like a gazelle. I've always looked like a lion. I've always been big and powerful looking as an adult, but I've always felt like unwelcome, fearful. Anyone could attack me, because no matter how big of a gazelle you are, there's always a lion that's bigger, right? So no matter what you think of yourself as a human, there's always people who are more scary and more dangerous if you cannot recognize them as innate wisdom. So I would live a life like that. I'd go to places and I would feel nervous, anxious. Someone would look at me, I'm like, why are they looking at me? I better watch that person. If someone made a joke about me, I would be overly sensitive to it because I'd feel it as a threat. It's like a lion going, "Arr, arr." You're like, it's kind of funny, but what's going on? And that's one way to live, and that's completely fine. You can have a completely full and fulfilled life living like that, with lots of things you might have to attend to. But you could also begin to be open to the idea that you are the awareness of all experience, that all appearances are born of you, that they're indivisible, separate, that they come and go as your own being. They reside as your own being. They're manifested as your own awareness. And this might sound like a complete dream. Sometimes on my growing familiarity with myself as awakened awareness, I've questioned this many times. I've said, oh, this is rubbish. I'm just a person, and I've been fortunate to dream up this psychological approach that I am everything. And like, it's just not true. I'm just Joe, and I'm just in my house, and I've got to go into work. And it's easy to go into that. But really look at it. Where is stuff coming from? It's a flawless observation that all appearances are born of your own mind, right? It's flawless. And you can have these moments of anxiety about, am I misleading myself? Am I really just a flesh object creating awareness through chemical balances? But even if I was that, I could never know that independent of awareness. You can never know anything without awareness. So I got to the point where I realized it's just as normal to recognize myself based on my experience as awareness, that everything is born of awareness, that everything is comprised of awareness, that everything appears, abides and subsides as awareness, as it is to say I'm a flesh being going around with a brain that calculates and computes in order to perfect, to maximize my chances of survival. And then I started to see that that's actually more weird. Like, it's actually more weird, because that makes more sense in the context of me being Joe, right? And you being your names, and us living in a house in a city, right? That makes more sense. But then when you ask yourself, where is this city on a country? Where is this country on a planet? Where is this planet in a solar system? Where is the solar system in a galaxy? Where is this galaxy in the universe? Where is the universe? I don't know. Right? We've just put the unknown nature of our existence further enough away that we don't really contemplate it enough, unless we're lying on the beach looking at the stars, or, I don't know, smoking weed or something, right? We always associate those types of conversations with being high on some kind of drug. And that is literally something to look into. And that's why we do these talks here, because we talk about these things just in our natural state. What a fascinating question. How comes we never ask ourselves, where is the universe? Like in everyday parlance, we just prefer to live in this very conditioned way of perceiving the world. But it literally can fall apart in, what was that, 6 questions? Where is the house? Where is the country? Where is the planet? Where is the galaxy? Where is the universe? And suddenly we don't know anything. And when you don't know where something is, and there's a very funny movie, isn't it, or a very funny saying from the 60s or whatever. It might have been a Cheech and Chong movie where it's like, what if we're living in the big toe of a giant, right? Ha ha ha. But we have no idea. We have no idea where we are. So my point is this: if you are going to continually to believe that being a flesh being is a more valid way to look at yourself, then you need to know what is the universe.